Hey everyone, this is Keith Scott from out in Sydney, Australia. I'm one of the voices of Bullwinkle J. Moose. It's time to watch Relentless and Unstoppable. And so give it up for your main hosts, Douglas Kenny and Andy McPhee.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny and welcome to Relentless and Unstoppable. We have another amazing guest coming on the channel today, so please hit like and subscribe. And after this episode, please stay tuned to the RNU channel for more amazing guests. Let's get this on!
Hey everybody, how you doing? Just a quick little share of why I started Relentless and Unstoppable. It was for one very simple reason, because of Doug Kenny. Nothing to do with me at all, zero. I was just coaching Doug, and he took on the coaching and mentoring, and he made all the changes. He took all the suggestions from his parents as well as my coaching, but it was all about Doug, his breakthrough and his weight loss, his willingness to accept that he is dealing with high functioning autism and other issues, but he's never quit, he's never given up. So we did one interview with him to share his story, and then we decided to start interviewing other people. And Doug has now taken over the whole channel, and he does all the interviews, he runs everything. He's just an amazing young man. So RNU was born from simply what an amazing young man Doug is, and his story needed to be shared.
Yeah, how long did it take for you to navigate through it?
Well, initially, I had just finished a 20-ounce cup of coffee because I got in normally around 8 a.m. So I had 45 minutes to consume a cup of coffee. And I knew it was going to be a long day. So instead of evacuating down the stairs with the hundreds of other people from the floor, I went to the men's room and took care of business. And then came back to my desk to pick up the backups to our 2-year project for the Liberty International Newark Air Train project, and then found one of our other consultants, a young lady, and told her I'd escort her down the stairs. And from that point to the time I actually got out of the building was the building collapsed at 9:59, and I got out of that building probably around 9:57. So it took a little over an hour and 10 minutes to get out of the towers and out of the complex onto the street.
I see what you mean. Did you hear the explosion on the other tower soon afterwards, or were you mostly focused on the tower you were in?
Well, we were all in the north tower, and we were inside the core of the tower, the middle of it, and the stairwells were packed, and we were all just concentrating on getting down all the 71 is 142 flights of stairs to escape the towers. And none of us heard a single thing. I heard nothing. A lady, a flight or two down, was listening to a radio, and she said, another plane has hit the towers. So there was a report, but we didn't hear it.
Ah. So when you came outside the tower and saw the other one burning, is that when you sort of knew it was intentional?
Oh, yes. Yes. Once I got down and before I got out, because my best friend, who is the security director of the World Trade Center, in an emergency like this, he would have been in the Emergency Operations Center, which was in one of the 6 basements of the South Tower. So I made my way to the South Tower, which was quite a chore because all the lights were out, only emergency lighting was on, water was pouring through the ceilings, and the security was directing us out, and I had to break through the line of security to get to the South Tower. And I could not, no matter what I did, I could not get down into the basement of the South Tower for one reason or another. So I said to myself, I know another way, and I went into the lobby of the South Tower. And my gosh, Doug, it was just the same condition as the North Tower. There were no lights, the signage was broken and dangling, the elevator doors were blown out. And I took a look at the three major areas, the west side, the center of the tower lobby, and the east side where the fire command center was, and there was just nobody around. And by this time, all those 142 flights of stairs, my body was about to collapse. But I could hear inside the tower a deep-throated moaning, groaning, grinding going on. And I was too exhausted to try to consider what it was. I exited that lobby, waded my way through the mall because the water was up here our ankles, and got out on the east side onto Church Street and stopped and turned around and looked back, and that's when I saw the second tower, the tops of which were in flames. And it was immediately obvious that this was an event that had been planned at that point.
Yeah. Did you avoid the storm of dust and rubble that spread for miles afterwards, or no?
No. What happened is I saw that both towers were on fire. Because I could not get into the basement to help in the evacuation from the emergency command center, I said, well, I'll go back into the plaza between the towers, because I looked out the windows and I saw bodies all over the place. I said to myself, well, I'll go back and help. They obviously, some of them need help, so I'll go back and help them. And just as I was about to turn west to go directly between the towers, a little voice in my head said, walk east. And there were thousands of people, Doug, on Church Street. They were evacuating from the Battery, which was south of the World Trade Center. All those businesses were evacuating, thousands of people. And I was winding my way through them. And that little voice said, walk east. My right foot came down. I did a military left flank. I walked about 7, maybe 10 paces, and the South Tower collapsed. I turned around and watched it come down, and for just the briefest instant, I knew we were all going to die with that tower hitting us. And in the same instant, it didn't matter whether we died or not. What can you do? Where can you run from a quarter-mile high building to escape it? You can't. You just have to accept it. And then those thousands of people started to panic. It was instantaneous. You never want to get caught in a panic of any kind. And my goodness, what an experience that was, Doug. I didn't want to get caught up in it. I matched my pace to their pace, and I worked my way to the south edge of all those panicking thousands of people, and tucked myself behind the column of the loading dock of the Millennium Hotel, and let everybody that was screaming and yelling and running and go by. And the shrapnel was coming down from the collapse was going by. And when I first got on Church Street, initially I saw splotches of blood about every 24, 30 inches, and wondered what the cause of that was. Well, when I tucked myself behind that column, I discovered the cause. Women in high-heeled shoes and men in loafers were running out of their shoes, and they were running in their stocking feet, stepping on glass and metal and all the shrapnel from the collapse and the initial 2 explosions, and cutting their feet. And they were bleeding, so there was blood spots every 24, 30 inches. So the crowd eventually thinned out, so I stepped out to go west back to the towers to provide what help I could. And when I stopped dead in my tracks, 800 foot high was that cloud, and I thought, oh my God, I am so exhausted. I will never survive another one of these things. But I didn't just stand there. I turned around and I refused to run, because you get caught up in the panic, but I could walk pretty fast. And I kept tabs on that cloud, and just as it was about to hit me, I took in a big, deep breath. And then there was instant blackness, pitch black. And all of the screaming and the yelling stopped instantly. It was just remarkable. And I tried to protect my face by putting my suit jacket over my face, but it was too late. I was in this thing. And I kept walking east in this pitch blackness, thinking I was going to trip over bodies or get run down by a pickup truck or something. And you can only hold your breath so long. It's like swimming underwater as far as you can. You have to inhale. So I inhaled, and that dust, which was full of grit, it was like sand, but it was all the pulverized sheetrock, metal, porcelain, whatever was ground up in that collapse. And that little voice in my head once again said, walk east. And I kept walking where I thought east was, which was away from the towers. And I went as far as I could. And my knees were starting to collapse. I couldn't breathe. And I thought, well, here it ends. I'm going to meet my maker. And just as my knees are collapsing and I'm beginning to sink to the sidewalk or the road, whatever I was on, I saw just off to my right at about 2 o'clock a fuzziness. It was a different look than the normal pitch black grayness of the sandstorm. And I just gave it my all, stood up, reached out, and I touched a man that was opening the back door of a delicatessen. I followed him in, and the help was handing out water and sodas. So I took one and I took a couple of swallows, and it cleared my throat, and I was able to breathe again. So I got caught in that cloud in a big way. What an experience.
It's amazing you survived that.
Gee, that's all we have for Relentless and Unstoppable. So tune into the next episode to hear more amazing stories from amazing guests. This is Keith Scott from Sydney, Australia, saying so long, and I'm smarter than the average bear. Gee.